Hi, my name is Thais Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit about what love feels like to a fearful avoidant. And in this video, I also really want to cover like a few different pitfalls that the fearful avoidant can fall into because of some of their attachment trauma. And at the end, I'll go through, and I'm going to make a separate video series that's in great detail about this, but I'll also go through how that starts to transition as the fearful avoidant themselves transitions from a fearful avoidant attachment style to becoming more secure. And we don't want to mix that up with like how we show up in the different stages of a relationship, but generally, if you guys on here have heard me talking about the life cycle of a relationship and how we have 6 stages, if we are moving past the power struggle stage, in order for us to sort of move through and beyond that stage, usually we're becoming more secure anyways, because one of the sort of prerequisites of the power struggle stage in order to proceed to the next level is to be able to move through some of those challenges and start to accept our partner's flaws, communicate our needs, address the vulnerability components. And so a lot of these things are what we need in order to be secure either way. So as always, I said I was going to do like a COVID sort of video every day and touch on that. And what I found is you guys requested a lot more like attachment style content and are submitting email questions to focus on that. So I always just want to sort of do a brief update to spread a healthy message at the beginning of this video. So number one, I was listening, I'm located in Toronto. I think a good portion of you probably know that. But I know that in the US, and I'm assuming soon to be in Canada, there is, social isolation has been continued for another 30 days. And a lot of people are saying it's going to be a little bit longer than that. And so the message that I was giving yesterday, and I sort of want to continue on today, is reach out to people early. Like start your habits now, because we don't usually see the effect of being socially isolated until 6 weeks to 2 months in, when like those effects or impacts have started to take place at the subconscious level. And this does not have to be a time that like these things affect us negatively. Obviously there's a lot of discomfort no matter what, and obviously there's disruption, and obviously with the economy and a lot of these things are a ton of challenges. But we can take the most that we possibly can from the situation and try to find a silver lining or create a silver lining. And I'm not saying that there won't be just natural hardships for some people, period, because of job loss or different challenges that are happening. But for those of you who are blessed enough to be working from home or are less impacted by this, or you're financially prepared for this situation in this time, and your family's in a safe space and nobody's falling ill, the isolation doesn't have to take this terrible impact and or make this terrible impact and imprint the subconscious. So do things right now in your life that you're, where you're reaching out to people, you're engaging in a sense of community. Thank goodness we have online spaces for this. Join groups, connect with people, do as much as you can intentionally so that you just don't fall into this negative pattern. And then all of a sudden, a few weeks from now, you're like, oh, I really don't feel so great. So take the initiative in your life during this time and be a shoulder for others too. Don't just reach out when you need help, reach out to support or just give help or encouragement to others. And if you're intentional about how you show up during this time, that's actually going to have the most positive impact on you first. So with that being said, we're also offering a ton of support to our community in whatever way we can. I'm reading your comments and trying to create videos accordingly for what you need, for what's most entertaining and educational during this time. And also we're offering 25% off of our bundled memberships for 3 months, 6 months, etc., any sort of bundled membership or individual course purchases. And with our memberships, we have tons of community. So right now we have 2 live webinars a week. We've got community on there. And I'm going to be adding April, May, an extra webinar just for people to feel connected online, share their questions, talk, communicate, support one another. And in any way that we can all impact as individuals, have Zoom calls with your friends or family, like do these things so that you are able to thrive a little bit during this time in terms of your connection and not fall victim to the sort of isolation type circumstances. So let me dive into this video I'm trying to do this little hybrid of like COVID lesson, like not lessons, because I'm not like a health expert in terms of physical health, but just like, messages that might be uplifting or empowering from the mental, emotional perspective, and then dive into the content every day. So So with that being said, let's talk about what love feels like to a fearful avoidant. So first and foremost, I'm going to sort of split this into two categories where I talk about the actual fearful avoidant and then the fearful avoidant that leans anxious, because when I talked about the dismissive last time, I included the fearful avoidant leaning dismissive. So here's what a fearful avoidant expects in terms of love. And here's what can be a really challenging pitfall for the fearful avoidant, especially when they're trying to move out of the power struggle stage and into the stability stage in the life cycle of a relationship. Fearful avoidants expect every time together, this is a general thing, like it's a stereotype for fearful avoidance, but I hardly find exceptions to this rule or to this pattern that I've noticed. And it's that fearful avoidants always expect their time together with the partner to be the best time, to have the most intensity, because fearful avoidants are used to living in extremes. So they expect things to be like the best date ever every single time. And if it's not, sometimes fearful avoidants will ignite chaos just to get this strong emotional connection going. Like, let's both get our emotions on high and be fully engaged. And so when things are not up here all the time, sometimes fearful avoidants can try to approach that in a not so healthy way, trying to get the emotions back to up here. But if they can't do it in a positive, the brain just tries to meet the needs for that intensity and that passion and that depth of connection in the fastest way possible, not necessarily in the most effective or the best, healthiest way possible. And this is where fearful avoidance this is one of the main factors in place where I see fearful avoidants sabotaging their relationship. And they don't mean to, this is a subconscious thing, but our subconscious mind is like a needs meeting machine. It always wants to get the need met, hurry up, get the need met. And it's not concerned with like, is the need met in the best way, in the most effective way? That's your conscious mind that does that, like rationalizing and analyzing about that. Your subconscious mind is just like this sort of computer that's designed to like function and get the need met as quickly as it can. So for fearful avoidance, love feels like passion, excitement, intensity, depth. And this is especially extreme for fearful avoidants who lean anxious, who have a more anxious side. And because fearful avoidants are hypervigilant and because they're used to living in extremes, when that connection is not at the 10 out of 10 level or a 9.5 out of 10, they are hypervigilant about that. And they take a lot of like burden on themselves and put a lot of pressure on themselves to be constantly regulating the relationship dynamic. And when they feel like they're failing or when they feel like they're disconnected, it can cause a lot of problems and challenges for them. And sometimes they don't understand why other partners, if it's somebody who's more secure, or especially somebody who's dismissive avoidant, aren't also trying to regulate the dynamic, because we always project as human beings from our perception. We assume that everybody sort of has the same needs and desires. And so when they aren't doing what we're doing, when they're not regulating the relationship, the fearful avoidance mind can sort of fill in the blanks with negative stories and go, they don't care about the relationship as much as I do. They're losing interest in the relationship. They're interested in somebody else. Why don't they want to be 10 out of 10? And they have a hard time understanding it. So we can think of it as like the fearful avoidant basically always expects to be in the honeymoon phase. And the anxious preoccupied is sort of like this too, but I'll talk about that in the next video. So it's interesting because if you pair this next to a dismissive avoidant, for example, they want like contentment, security, safety, peace, ease, flow, like they want something different. And so it's really important that we learn to understand what the expectations around love are and what the intentions around love are between us and different styles, so we can sort of consolidate those differences and find a nice healthy flow to our relationships. So when a relationship has these qualities, the fearful avoidant is very fulfilled, but they have a very difficult time settling into a relationship and sort of like being able to get into the stability stage. The stability stage feels very uncomfortable for the fearful avoidant, and often they try to unconsciously backtrack and regress back into the honeymoon phase, but actually the regression from stability is back into the power struggle again. And so they can get caught in this unless they're willing to accept that, hey, relationships can be really strongly bonded in the honeymoon phase, but then there's a settling in that takes place where the connection can be a 7 out of 10 of intensity, but the bliss sort of ignites that again. And there's so many other beautiful things that are popping up in the meantime, like the natural understanding of each other and deeper trust and more fulfillment and more peace in the relationship naturally, and all these wonderful qualities. But the fearful avoidant can get their blinders on and be so focused on the intensity and excitement that it can be a bit of a detriment to the relationship. So there's so much more I can say about this in terms of what to do about it and how to change it. So if you guys want another video about this, like a part 2, I think, the fearful avoidant is one of the most impacted attachment styles by what their perception of love is. So let me know, and I will make a big, long, expanded video with tools and strategies and all that kind of stuff as well. And also, if you're interested in learning more, we have an advanced fearful avoidant attachment style course that just came out this past month in March, and it has all the 6 stages lined up and the pitfalls and all these different things. So there's a lot of that content in there as well. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to this video or to this channel. And I will see you in the next video.